Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. But first, a message from my sponsor. And that wasn't even a full wind. Today we're discussing the Jaeger LeCoultre Master Compressor Diving Alarm Navy Seals, a limited edition of 1500 from model year 2009. You can see and you can purchase this grade 5 titanium ceramic bezel diving alarm from Jaeger LeCoultre on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch, with additional accessories included in the sale, high resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this Jaeger LeCoultre Master Compressor Diving Alarm Navy Seals Limited Edition. Now, the watch on my wrist is easy to wear, part of a somewhat surprising partnership launched in 2009 between one of the elite Special Forces branches of the U.S. Armed Forces and Jaeger LeCoultre of Le Sentier, Switzerland. The watch nevertheless appeals, even if you were to throw its dubious co-branding aside. It still looks good. It's the modern, full-featured JLC sports watch we wish the company still made today. Now, across the round of the case, it's a very manageable 44 millimeters. Normally, I wouldn't pair 44 and very manageable together, but as you can see, not counting the compressor crowns, the watch is quite easy to wear across the wrist on my rather narrow 16 centimeter circumference wrist. There's absolutely no tendency of the crown to dig the skin or in any way impede the movement of the wrist. And from lug to lug, it's a rather reasonable 52.2 millimeters across the wrist. You can actually see how this watch isn't testing the limits of my forearm. I believe you could wear this watch on a wrist as small as 14.5 centimeters in circumference. It's not excessively thick, though it's definitely not thin. At 16.7 millimeters thick, with the slope of the bezel, you will be able to fit it underneath a sport jacket or a blazer cuff, possibly even a suit jacket, but certainly not a dress sleeve beneath. Now again, in grade 5 titanium, even with the size of the case, it is quite light, and it features a wonderfully flexible bellows-style natural vulcanized rubber diving strap. Now you can see on the underside plenty of recesses and channels to allow the wrist to vent on a hot day. Moisture, oils, heat can escape the wrist, and the strap, in addition to being a very flexible rubber, has these bellows built in to increase its pliancy. Now you'll also note that the watch features a simple and nicely executed combination satin and polished titanium pin buckle for quick on-the-fly adjustments. This is a very handsome watch, but simple and strong. There's nothing particularly florid or overwrought here. It has no hublot about it, and I mean that with respect to hublot. Hublot is a style and a sensibility. It's a watch for glitterati. It's a watch for people who want to call attention to themselves and feel good about doing it. This is for the person who's maybe quietly confident, a little bit lower in profile. We're not talking the difference between a Type A and a Type B personality. Maybe this is a watch for a Super B. Now you'll note that the timepiece features a nice satin finish with only a few polished highlights. Again, the watch has a lot of physical geography due to the demands of the alarm complication and dive watches generally, but there's no sense that it's overwrought or excessive beyond the requirements. The satin finish is muted and handsome. The polished bevel is a charming accent, and the step between the lug and the case band breaks up that mountainous mass of metal as seen from the sheer side. It doesn't appear monolithic. You also note that the outer knurling of the bezel itself is of high polished, with the intermediate recesses being media blasted. Now the bezel itself is a ceramic insert, so effectively as scratch resistant as sapphire. This is going to ensure long wearing durability of the watch over time, so it doesn't take on that scratched cab fender look of a traditional anodized dive bezel. You can hear how positive that detent is. It feels as good as it sounds. This is one of the most satisfying actions and ratchets to any dive bezel I have ever encountered. Line it up with the minute hand, now you have an impromptu 0 to 60 minute timer that I find both more legible and more practical than a mechanical chronograph, because I find that it's difficult to read sub-registers of a chronograph. And then when I use them, I rarely measure anything longer than an hour, so having a dive bezel on the surface or subsurface is just a better and easier way to time an interval using your mechanical watch. The dial is all matte with white on black printing for easy reading. It glows like a torch at night, and stay tuned at the end of this video for a lume shot because you're going to enjoy it. But All the references are there, and you can quite easily and quickly line up the disc. You can see how the logos and the print of the center dial are offset. That's because when you have the crown out for the setting of the alarm, you wind up moving the inner disc. So if you're wondering why everything isn't lined up, there, that'll make you happy. Now the timepiece does have no-nonsense legibility, and there's a nice ray-hot outboard that slopes down from the bezel to the center dial. And you'll note when viewing the watch off angle that the dial is nicely textured with a differential frosted or opaline finish on the outside and a darker metal disc at center in a darker black to, again, break up the monotone in subtle ways. And the dial does not appear flat. That's important to me. The indices are raised. There's a raised chapter ring around the center dial, and there's a deeply stepped aperture for the date, which you can see off angle, plus that sloped ray-hot outboard. Now, the watch does feature vulcanized rubber covers to protect the crown and anything that you might strike with the crown. The compressor winglets are clever. They give you 300 meters water resistance simply by turning them one half turn. Half a turn, now you can wind and set the watch. Half a turn, 300 meter water resistance. Half a turn, now you can wind the alarm, set the alarm, and use the quick set for the date. Absolutely, the watch features hacking or stop seconds. You get that with the caliber 956 alarm. Beautifully loud and resonant with gorgeous sustain. It sits underneath this U.S. Navy SEALs warfare device or service emblem. That's the pin that the SEALs earn once they pass their quals in the Navy. 1,500 pieces were made of this watch in 2009. It was a limited edition, and it is a well-loved modern sporting JLC. The movement itself with a 45-hour power reserve, unidirectional automatic winding with ceramic rotor bearings, both of those features imparting a great deal of efficiency in the winding system. It is free sprung, so that gives it a tougher balance architecture that's better able to take and hold a precise regulation in the face of bumps, vibrations, and disruptions on the wrist. 23 jewels, well over 200 parts. You're getting phenomenal complexity here. The fact is, the chronograph, or I should say the Memovox alarm module, is on the dial side of the watch, so it's actually two movements in one, but fully integrated because the 956 was developed as an alarm. So you wind up with two separate layers of clockwork inside the watch. Externally, simplicity itself. Internally, again, it's like a duck. All the action is below the surface. And in this case, that is an appropriate analogy, as that is where the SEALs do their best work. Let this watch do its best work on your wrist this summer. See it on our website. Jaeger LeCoultre Master Compressor Diving Alarm U.S. Navy SEALs Limited Edition. Shines as bright as its namesake. Tactical gear for those times when you have to take the plunge, or simply armchair divers, armchair commandos, and enthusiasts of tactical lore. See it and own it on our website.